Hey everyone, I'm Kayla, and today I'm talking about how I knew that I could trust my husband, Mariano, after being cheated on in the past. So, when I was 21 years old, I got married to a man. I thought he was a Christian. I thought he had a relationship with God. I thought he had cancer. And then 4 years later, just about 4 years later, I found out that none of these things were true. I found out he did not have cancer twice, and he also was cheating on me while we were dating, and then he was cheating on me at the end of the 4 years. But at the time, I had no idea that somebody could lie so convincingly about all of those things. I genuinely had no idea that someone was capable of doing that. So, of course, after all of that happened, I did not trust anybody. I already was hesitant to trust people to begin with, but after that, I definitely trusted nobody. So, 2 years later, I met Mariano, and he wanted to practice his English by talking to me, but I also did want to practice Spanish, and I did not think anything was going to happen. I thought we were going to be friends, So when we started dating, I really had a hard time trusting him. But being long distance was good in a sense that it gave me time to really see Mariano's character and who he was. So it was definitely difficult to trust Mariano at the beginning of our relationship, being long distance and just not knowing who I could trust in general. The first thing that Mariano did was he pursued me. He called me first. He texted me first. He certainly led in that area at first. And I, of course, sent him messages sometimes and called him sometimes too. But I needed to know that he was serious about it, and I needed him to be the one reaching out to me at the beginning. The second thing he did that made me realize I could trust him was he was consistent. He was so consistent. Like, he called me every single day. And I think there was one day during the 6 months that we were long distance that he didn't have power and he couldn't charge his phone and we couldn't talk. And that was the only day that we didn't communicate at all. Every single day he would either send me a message or he would video chat and we would talk to each other. So I knew that he was consistent. So if he was going to go through all that trouble, it was hard for him to be consistent. I don't know how he did it, because some days he would call me. He would sit outside his neighbor's house on the ground in the dirt just to talk, because his neighbor's Wi-Fi was a lot stronger than his data. And so we would talk that way a lot. Sometimes the Wi-Fi would be so sketchy, he would have to hold his phone in a certain spot, and if he moved it a little bit, the connection was lost. So he would literally have to stand or sit with his phone and not move for 30 minutes or an hour or however long we were talking. And I truly, truly appreciate his effort, but it also let me know that he was someone that I could trust. The third thing Mariano did was he followed through with our plans, and if he said he was going to do something, he did it. If he said he was going to call, he did. If he said that we were going to have a video chat date or something like that, he did it. Another thing that Mariano did that really helped me to build my trust in him was he answered all my questions. All my questions. Being long distance, we got a book for long distance couples, and it was basically just questions to ask each other, and they ended up being really fun and really interesting. And we had a lot of good conversations with them, and he answered every single one of them, and these were deep, difficult questions, and not once did he ever get defensive. Never. He honestly answered all of my questions. The fifth thing that Mariano did was he introduced me to his friends and his family, which is very difficult to do being long distance. But he made me feel like I was actually a part of his life and he was a part of my life, and we made it a priority to actually bring each other into our lives, even though that was very difficult to do long distance. But I would video chat with Mariano and he would introduce me to his friends and his family. And also his mom was in the hospital for many of the months that we were long distance, so I got to talk to her. Yes, I did get to meet her when I came before she passed away. So Mariano definitely made me a part of his life, even though we were long distance. Another thing that Mariano did, which was super important to me and it really meant a lot, was that he stayed during the uncomfortable moments. If we were having an argument or a disagreement on video chat, he did not hang up. He sat there and he stayed, and we talked about it until we both explained ourselves and we solved whatever problem or whatever disagreement we were having. And he didn't run away from that. He stayed. Basically, his actions more than his words showed me that he was trustworthy. Mariano was also very honest and still is very honest. He is getting better with his timing about being honest. He told me his flaws, his struggles, his temptations, his mistakes, his past. He told me all of those things. He was very honest from the beginning, as was I, and we both value honesty. I especially value honesty. I would rather be hurt at this point in my life by being told the truth. Like, the truth is most important to me. And so when Mariano was honest, even though the timing was terrible sometimes, it made me realize that I could trust him, and I knew that he would tell me the truth no matter what. Even if it hurt, he would be honest with me, and I could trust him. And last but not least, I saw that Mariano's relationship with God was actually real. He didn't just go to church every week and play drums for the church and then go home and live a different life. He genuinely had a relationship with God, because I've heard Christians talk about God, and I've heard Christians talk about God and tell me that, you know, they make mistakes, they need God, they can say it all, but they don't actually have a relationship with Jesus. And I just needed to know for sure that Mariano had a relationship with Jesus. When doubts would come and the voice in my head would be like, hey, what if Mariano's just pretending to love you? What if he doesn't actually love you because somebody had already pretended and lied about so many things, pretended to have cancer, all of that. So certainly Mariano could be pretending all of this. I would just ask him to talk about God and talk about Jesus, and I knew that he was telling the truth. So let me just say, it was not easy. It was a lot of back and forth. Can I trust him? Can I not trust him? I don't know if I can trust him. And then one day, oh, I can totally trust him. And then the next day, I don't know, I can't trust him at all. And these doubts and these negative thoughts would constantly come into my head. But in time, I saw that Mariano's actions spoke louder than his words. So at the end of the day, I think time was the most helpful thing. I do not miss being long distance at all. That was really hard, but it was necessary because it gave us a chance to build our friendship and build our trust and build our relationship by talking so much, because the only thing we could do was talk. So all we did was talk and talk and talk and talk. And I would have been a complete mess otherwise. So even though I did not like being long distance, it ended up working out in the end. So those are some of the things that a trustworthy person would do. But that's all for today.
I'm doing fine, so ease your worried mind. Sit back and close your eyes. Yeah, this land is a paradise, and the people are so very nice.